All right, let's talk about a cultural journey that honestly sounds almost impossible. We're going to trace how a car culture, born from rebellion in the barrios of Los Angeles, somehow found a second home, a spiritual home, on the streets of Tokyo.
I mean, think about it, right? This is a style that is so deeply tied to a specific community, a specific history. So how in the world did it not only cross the entire Pacific Ocean, but get embraced with such incredible passion and, as you'll see, precision? Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get how this culture traveled, we've got to go back to the beginning. We're talking post-World War II, Southern California, and the very community that started it all.
And you really need to understand this term Chicano. It is absolutely key. This isn't just some demographic label. It's a powerful statement of identity. It's about being proud of your Mexican roots while carving out a unique American experience, often in the face of pressure to just assimilate. And that spirit? That's the fuel that created the lowrider.
So, you gotta picture this. Mainstream American car culture is all about going bigger, higher, and faster. The Chicano community, they went the complete opposite direction. They dropped their cars to the ground, creating this whole philosophy of low and slow. It was an act of defiance, which evolved from, just throwing sandbags in the trunk to installing these super sophisticated hydraulic systems. And then bam, the 90s hit, and thanks to guys like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, the whole world saw lowriders bouncing on MTV. The culture went global.
And this is the thing you really have to get. These were never just cars. No way. They were rolling works of art. They were symbols of identity, and they were the glue that held the community together. The car clubs weren't just for showing off your ride. They were about family, about having each other's backs, about creating a place where you belonged. Every single one of these cars tells a story of heritage, of struggle, and of pride.
Okay, so that brings us back to the big question, right? How does a culture so specific, so deeply rooted in the Chicano experience of East LA end up in Japan? Well, it all starts with one guy's journey.
Meet Junichi Shimodaira. This guy would basically become one of the godfathers of Japan's lowrider scene. In this quote, it captures that lightning in a bottle moment in the early 80s when he saw a picture on TV that just completely changed his life. And this wasn't just some passing fancy for him. It became an obsession. Now, you got to remember, this is before the internet. No Google, no YouTube. So he spent years just hunting for information, piecing it together from imported magazines and movies. Finally, in '87, he makes the trip, the pilgrimage to LA. And even with the language barrier, what he saw in person, the cars, the style, the community, it just blew his mind. He knew right then and there he had to bring this back home.
And he actually did it. He opened his own shop, Paradise Road. But it wasn't just a garage. It became the epicenter, the ground zero for this whole new scene. He started the Pharaohs, which is Japan's oldest lowrider club. And he didn't just import the cars. He imported the whole philosophy of community and family that he'd witnessed in LA.
But that still leaves a huge question. Why? Why would this super specific, very American subculture resonate so deeply with people in Japan? Well, the answer is pretty amazing. It turns out there's a parallel history of rebellion.
Now this is where things get really fascinating. Look at the parallels here. Both of these cultures grew out of young people feeling disconnected from the mainstream after the war. In the US, Chicanos used cars to reject assimilation, to say, this is who we are. In Japan, you had the Bozozuku biker gangs who used their modified bikes to push back against the country's super strict social rules. It was the exact same rebellious spirit, just playing out in a totally different setting.
And this isn't just a theory. It's a fact. As Masa Watanabe, one of the leaders in the scene, points out, a ton of the top guys in Japan's lowrider clubs today, they're former Bosozoku. They didn't need anyone to explain the spirit of rebellion to them. They'd already lived it. The lowrider was just a new, and for them, a more compelling way to express it.
But the Japanese enthusiasts didn't just copy the culture. They brought something totally unique to the table, the otaku mindset. Think of it as an obsessive, all-consuming passion, a dedication to mastering every single tiny detail of something you love. They didn't just want to build lowriders, they wanted to perfect them.
If you want to see that dedication in action, just look at this number. Over $100,000. That's how much one builder, a guy named Genbu, has poured into his 1965 Buick Riviera. This isn't a hobby. This is a life's work. We're talking paint jobs that take months, immaculate hand engravings,
Every single detail is a testament to that otaku spirit of perfection.
So all this deep dedication, it leads us to a really big, kind of tricky conversation that we have a lot in our modern world. When one culture adopts the traditions of another so completely, where do you draw the line between just copying something and truly celebrating it?
You know, the whole appropriation versus appreciation debate. It can get complicated, but what's happening between LA and Japan with lowriders, it actually offers a really powerful answer. It all seems to boil down to the relationship and the respect between the two communities.
What everyone who's looked at this has found is that this is not a copy-paste job. It's what people call a true cultural exchange. There is constant communication. The shop owners in Japan are importing parts directly from LA. There's this deep, genuine respect for the founders, for the history, and for the whole philosophy of community and family that started it all.
And this is where the story just gets wild. The loop is now complete. The Japanese builders, with their otaku obsession with getting every single detail perfect, are building cars that are so flawless, so incredible, that the originators, the masters back in LA, are now looking to them for inspiration. The students are now inspiring the teachers.
Which leaves us with this final, really fascinating thought to chew on. When a culture is adopted with so much respect, so much dedication, that it starts to innovate and inspire its own source, what do you even call that? It kind of messes with our simple definitions, doesn't it? It shows us that culture can be a conversation, not just a one-way street. That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for digging into this with us.